And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining me for another After Buzz. I'm your host, Brandon Coates, with special guest, the one and only Willie Barcena.
What's up, my brother?
Joining us today. He's in town here for a few days. He's going to be performing out of Bart Reed's comic strip coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for all the shows. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you in today was because one of the topics that I was going to be bringing up anyway has to do with boxing, and you're a big fight fan.
Yeah, well, I actually followed boxing more in the 80s and 90s, and I kind of tailed off a little because it didn't have that flair.
You didn't have the names, you didn't have the rivalries.
Yeah. But then, I also believe that MMA kind of held it back a little because it was so new. MMA was so new with the Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell era.
Yep.
That I almost feel like boxing took a back seat for a little bit. I mean, did you feel that way?
Well, they kind of did, just because it was the UFC gave people something that I think a lot of people had been wanting, but they didn't know how to get, which was comparing different fighting styles. You put them into one cage.
Right.
Who's coming out of there?
Right. But I also think that what they were real smart at doing MMA was interviewing and getting to know the fighters at a deeper level. Like you got to know where they came from, whereas boxing, we only got to know their world if they were fighting for a title. Then they would put, like, that HBO would do that, like a little, a documentary on them.
Yeah.
Whereas MMA did it with people who nobody knew who they were. Like, here you are following Tito Ortiz. Like, who was he? He had a title. Eventually got a title, but there was a lot of other fighters that didn't have titles, but you'd want to follow them. And this is before where the show came on Spike. What was it?
The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
See, I'm so pissed.
Yeah.
Because they don't do the Ultimate Fighter anymore.
They don't do it at all anymore.
No, what kind of happened was a transition from UFC. Fox was running their fights. It was Fox Sports.
First it was Spike, then it was
then it moved over to Fox Sports, and then ESPN bought that huge deal with the UFC last year. So now everything's kind of transferred over there to where you have ESPN Plus is now kind of your big UFC source. And one of the things that the ratings kind of kept dropping with every single season of the Ultimate Fighter. You had that first season that was great, where I believe it was Couture versus Liddell were the coaches. And then it's just as it kind of went, it just didn't grab. I liked watching it because this is, like you were saying, you got to meet these fighters before they're big names, and see just the amount of work that goes into it.
Yeah,
because it's a true, like, not only are you having to usually work a full-time job to pay the bills, you're training just countless hours throughout the week.
Yeah, I think that's how we got, me as a fan, I got close to the fighters, and it's exactly what you're saying. We had to see, these guys struggling just to eat, because they have to eat the proper food. And here's a guy that works a minimum wage job, and he's got to eat, the nutrition, and the supplements, So yeah, I mean, I didn't know the show was tailing off like that.
And I was kind of pissed because I thoroughly loved watching the Ultimate Fighter, and then since they haven't done it now, the one thing that they kind of have is Dana White's Contender Series, where they have, I think it's once a week on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and it's kind of similar. It's basically it's a small UFC card with fighters who are unsigned.
Okay.
If you win your fight, you might get a contract, you might not, depending on how your fight goes.
And this is on ESPN?
ESPN Plus. I believe it's either that or it's on UFC Fight Pass or both. But that's one of the reasons why they have that Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, Hulu package that's coming at the end of the year, and I'm totally getting that. Because I've been toying with the idea of getting ESPN Plus specifically for the UFC stuff, because that's where it all is at this point. You've got ESPN is showing a lot of the fights that the preliminary fights, and then ESPN Plus has them, and then that's where you get their pay-per-views now, is through ESPN Plus, which we will have an MMA talk coming up on Friday. Willie will hopefully be able to join us. Isaac Nanez from Gorilla MMA, that's the gym that I go to. He's going to be coming in, and we're going to be talking about that big Stipe Cormier fight that's coming up on Saturday. But so the one story that I really just fell down a rabbit hole, I was talking to Willie about it, man, it's nuts, where it was Luis Resto and
this is a boxer from the 80s, right?
Yeah, this happened in, I think it was I need to 1983 or 84 is when this happened. It was 83. So the way that this story goes down is that you had Billy Collins Jr. He was undefeated. He was kind of one of the up and comers. He was a guy that was being touted as one of the next big things.
Yeah.
Luis Resto's record hovered right around 500. He was just expected to be the guy that Billy Collins Jr. fought before Collins Jr. makes it big.
Yeah.
So the fight goes the distance. And by the end of the fight, Collins Jr.'s face is just mangled. It's to the point where his eyes are almost swollen shut. They were swollen shut the following day. And as the fight's over, most people are thinking, holy crap, somehow Luis Resto won this fight.
Right.
So as he goes over to, like, they're doing the congratulations and the handshakes, he goes over and he kind of puts out his hands to handshake Collins' dad, who's Billy Collins Sr.
Right.
And as his dad grabs the glove, he knows immediately something's wrong here. And he's like calling for the referee to come over. So the referee comes over, feels the gloves. They have him take them off. They take him to the back and come to find out there's a little spot that was slit in the inside where they had pulled out some of the stuffing. So there wasn't as much padding there as there should have been. Now, this is what we found out back then. Fast forward about 20 years, it was about 2005, Resto admitted, also the hand wraps that I had were basically wrapped in plaster.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like just a concrete brick that was coming with less padding. So where this really takes an even darker turn is the damage that Collins Jr. had during that fight damaged his eyes to where he had blurred vision.
Right.
And he was told by doctors, if you continue to fight, you could go blind.
Right.
And so he has to quit boxing. His life just tailspins out of control. He apparently went into a deep depression because that's all he had known at this point. He was young. He was like 19, 20 years old. Yeah. And what ended up happening was he got super drunk one night and then crashed his car and he died in the car crash. And there's some people that are like, they think he did it on purpose. Like it wasn't an accidental car accident because it was a one car accident where he just ran it into a wall. Yeah. And there are people who think that.
Well, I think that comes with a lot of brain damage, man. I'm sure that he did have depression because, I mean, when you have a healthy, even just having a healthy brain, it's hard for us in everyday life to problem solve, you know. But when you get those, they get trauma, man, and the brain gets bruised. Parts of your brain shut down and makes it hard to problem solve. And that's where the depression comes in. The depression to us as human beings comes in from having a problem and you feel like there's no way to solve it. So and I believe that that's what probably happened to this kid, man. He there was probably other things he could do. You know, you could start a company, being a construction worker, whatever, right? I mean, when things happen, you know, and I think what happened was because of the reason a lot of boxers, I believe, suffer from this is because of the punishment. And especially talking about the 80s, man, they would train, like even now, they know, okay, if you're going to spar, make sure you have, gear on and make sure you have bigger gloves and this and that. All these things.
Try to take the least amount of damage.
Yeah, but back then it wasn't like that. Back then, in the 80s, man, because I talked to a friend of mine who, you're going to talk to him, is Ruben Castillo. He tells me, I was talking to him about fighting in the 80s, and I said, when I specifically brought up Mexican fighters, and I said, because my kids used to box too, and I said I would always take them to the black gyms in South Central because they worked a lot of defense. And back then, I go, tell me the truth, bro. How often did you work on defense? And then he said, "Want to know the truth? Never." He said they never. He goes, the Mexican boxers. And I'm and I'm not just saying specifically Mexican boxing, but just think about all the way they fought back then. Everything was forward, and then I try to talk to him about getting your face out of the line when you throw a punch. Like you throw a punch from here, but you want to get out of the line.
You're not gonna get countered.
And he made me feel like an idiot, man, because he goes, line. What line? He literally goes like, what are you talking about, man? Line.
And this is a guy that had 81 career fights. Yeah. Willie's talking about here, who fought some of the top-notch guys.
Salvador Sanchez, Alexis Arguello, Julio Cesar Chavez was three of the
like he had title fights. I mean, unfortunately, he never won them, but this guy fought for titles. Yeah. And he's talking about, like, I don't know what you're talking about here.
Yeah. And then, by the way, we're talking about this kid. you're saying possibly committed suicide, right? And then and one of the questions I asked Ruben, I said, bro, how come you never took the fight, the rematch with Chavez? And he goes, the truth is, man, because I wanted to leave boxing being able to think. He goes,
Don't blame him.
yeah, he said, man, he goes, I don't stutter. You know, when we're talking, he goes, I can articulate. I can tell you what I'm thinking. Because a lot of these guys, man, you know, they would keep fighting and fight the wrong guys. And that's what happens, man. I believe it happened to this kid.
I mean, he took an
Who was the kid's
absolute.
name again? Can you tell me his name?
Billy Collins Jr.
Yeah.
Was the kid who ended up
And he was
being
good.
defeated. It was within a year that this had happened too. So I mean, and truly, unfortunately, like with our company and stuff, we can't actually show the pictures.
Right.
But if you Google the pictures of Billy Collins Jr. of what he looked like the day after, because I stumbled onto this on YouTube, where it was a picture of him the day after, and somebody, because they wanted to show like what the damage looked like, and the person that got the photo sent to them, they were like, man, it would have been better if you could have had him take the picture with his eyes open. And the person, they're like, that his eyes are open. Like, that's as much as he could do. I mean, it was completely swollen to the point that his eyes were swollen shut. And what sucks is he truly went from this super high prospect to having to get out of boxing to dead within year. It was, so the fight happened in 83 and his accident was in March 6th, 1984. Like, that's how quickly things spun off the rails here for Billy Collins Jr.
And then, and like everybody says, everybody knows this, man. Boxing is a poor man's sport. It's for poor black guy, poor white guy, poor Latino to get out. I mean, that's the only. I mean, if you look at boxers, the reality is, I would say 99.9% of them come from poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And so even the fact that you come from a impoverished neighborhood, and your whole dream was to be a boxer, and it's taken away from you, it's probably tough for these guys to say, well, let me rebuild and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not coming from background people that are going to be able to help you and motivate you to do other things. How many times do you see these boxers come from neighborhoods that don't make it in boxing and they're back to being thugs?
Mm-hmm. Or they go back, or they become a coach, or they do something, or they just kind of transition it to over there. Somebody in the YouTube chat here saying that boxing is like football, but 100 times worse, and that's why MMA is taking over more protection. And that was always kind of a big argument in favor of MMA to boxing, is that boxing, if you get knocked down, they're going to give you a standing 8 count and you can get back up, and so you've already been concussed, and now you're going to take even more blows to the head, where with mixed martial arts, if you get knocked down, the fight's going to be over, because the guy's going to pounce on top. He's either going to continue to just rain blows on you until the referee steps in and stops it, or it's going to get to the point where they're like, you're just going to tire out and they're going to submit you. The fight's going to be over at that point.
Yeah, and I okay, on that aspect, as far as what what the guy's talking about here, or you're saying, yeah, man. The thing about the standing 8 count is this is why I have always believed so dangerous, because you've already received a concussion. Your brain, a concussion, for people that don't know, and I'm sure your listeners know, but for the people that don't know, a concussion is a bruise of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you get a bruise, you hit yourself, you get a bruise. But that's what happens to the brain, is hits against the skull and it gets a bruise. Now it's now what happens, you give you the standing 8 count. You have your brain is bruised, and you say, okay, I'm ready to go. Now they're going to hit you again on that bruise again, and here comes brain damage, man.
And what happens if you keep getting a bruise on your arm? It's going to get worse. That's happening to,
And then that's why a lot of people think that don't understand MMA boxing. They think, well, MMA is worse because you throw elbows, right? Or you can hit with the knee, and then there's no padding there. Yeah, but once you get hit, it's out.
Yeah,
they're not going to go.
It might be worse that it might cut you open quick.
Yeah.
Or like if you're taking an elbow. Oh my God, did you see some of the footage from the UFC fight over the weekend?
Dude,
holy shit!
Yeah.
There was
the
two.
dude's nose, right?
I've already forgotten. And I should know all this stuff, but there was a couple of fights over the weekend that had Oh, so Mike Perry was one guy, and he lost in a split decision. But it was Mike Perry, and again, this is what sucks about our companies. I wish I could show the picture, but so it was Mike Perry, and his nose was completely. I mean, it's sitting over here on his face
and flat.
And yes,
and flat. Man.
I mean, it was completely mangled, and he just lost in a split decision. And then there's another one. I can't remember who it was, but it was. I follow Dana White on Instagram, and he posts a lot of this stuff. And there's one guy that just somebody had completely split his eye open, and it was right on the eyebrow. Right. And they showed like the before picture, and like they actually peeled it down to show you like how deep it was and stuff. And it was gruesome, but it was so cool. Like I couldn't stop looking at it. But it was one of those ones too that it's something that I don't think a lot of people know, especially when it comes to fighting like this. In regards to mixed martial arts, the only reason they really have the gloves is to protect their knuckles. That's why the gloves are so light. Yeah. And the problem is too, once you get a cut up here, that scar splits open that much easier in a fight the next time. Like that's a weak point for you at that point. So if you already have a bunch of scars on your eyebrows and in that area, it doesn't take a lot more, or it takes a lot less effort to pop that thing back open. And of course, that's detrimental because if you got blood dripping in your eye, the referee's going to call a fight at that point too. Right. But yeah, this thing was just brutal looking. So of course, I fell down the rabbit hole looking at gruesome UFC injuries like broken arms. Like when Anderson Silva broke his leg. Oh,
that was nasty, man. Yeah, that was hard. That was hard to look at. But you know, the crazy thing about like when I'm watching fights and they say that guy has a good chin. That's not a good thing, man. When a fighter,
it just means you can take more punches to the head.
Yeah, but it's not really. I don't believe it's having a good chin. I really believe if you go back to anybody they ever talked about saying that guy had a good chin, if you follow his his history, as he gets older, those guys seem to have taken the most brain damage because not at the moment. But when they say a guy has a good chin, your brain is still bouncing in there. Yeah.
It's still doing damage. Just because you can take the punch doesn't mean it's not actually doing anything. But now you said that you trained.
I trained a little bit. I trained a little bit with everything, man. I'm a big wuss, man.
What do you mean big wuss? You don't train and you're a wuss. Like, well, okay, bro. I take it back because I trained another wuss. So
look, man. I this is maybe 10 years ago, 30 pounds ago. I was taking boxing, and I would spar. I would spar a little bit, and I just didn't, man. When I got countered by I know how to box. I know how to basic box, right? Have your hands here, you throw your jab here, you step in with your jab, overhands, hooks at the basic. I can play around. A novice, but have you gotten in the ring with a boxer, like somebody that knows how to box? Have you ever been?
Not yet. Like I haven't gotten to that level.
Bro, you get a headache quick, man. You're just like, all right, bro, get back. Let me. You like?
Yeah, you want to? Because I haven't gotten to that level, but Isaac, the guy who'll be in here on Friday for the MMA talk, like we were training. There was one day. This is when I was first starting, about 2.5 years ago, and there was a point where. Like I was taking private lessons with him, and then there's another kid that we came in at the same time. And this kid was late, so it pissed Isaac off. And I'm like, fuck, now he's pissed off. Now we're gonna feel it today because Isaac's pissed. And so one of the things that we did is you get up against the wall, and then you go like this, and then you just take shots to the gut to kind of take punches.
See, I never understood that, bro. I'm okay. I know there's a lot of boxing coaches that do that, but I never understood how you can develop. I can see sit-ups and crunches having a better, but I never understood how that gets you tougher.
I think it was just Isaac letting out a little aggression. Because what he would do is it would you just kind of take it, and then always the last couple he would get a little extra mustard on there, and there was one time where it was we were alternating between you were the one up on the wall or you were doing a plank, and I just remember I'm in the plank like this, and Isaac put a lot behind this, and he hears. And you hear the kid go, like that, and he wasn't and he just dropped to the ground. And I was like, thank God I was on time today.
But it's like, so you understand this, man, is when you're boxing, when you're a novice boxer and you're boxing with a pro, first of all, they're not going to hurt you, but they're going to let you know, hey, I'm a pro. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Then it's like, when you first started grappling and you grapple with like a black belt and they play with you like you're a baby.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You literally feel like you're like a newborn.
You're helpless. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, when you first when you start grappling, like, I'm good friends with I'll give you his number as well. He's a good guy to have as a guest. Is Mike Beltran. You know, the UFC referee. We started jiu-jitsu together.
Okay.
And he's a brown belt now. But the reason he kept going, because he's also, I don't know if you know, Mike Beltran is also a sheriff in LA. But he told me when we talked, I said, dude, why did you keep going? Why did you? Because I stopped. I got my blue belt. I did it for maybe 6 more months. I quit. And and they say that about a lot of blue belts. But anyways, he kept going. He goes, bro, I couldn't get it out of my head because Mike is a big, strong. I mean, this guy works out every day. Everything. He says, I got tapped out by a 15-year-old kid, and that just never left my head. And that's why he kept going, man, because a 15-year-old...
He didn't want to leave it at that. He had to get better.
Yeah, no, but even now as a brown belt, I say that memory from 8 years ago stays with you. You know what I mean? That memory of getting choked out by a 15-year-old, 130-pound kid that was he was a green belt or something like that. You know, because I don't know what it is. When you're 18, you can't get a actual blue belt in jiu-jitsu. It's weird, man. You get a green belt because there's only in Brazilian jiu-jitsu there's only like 4 belts, right? I don't know, and he's a brown belt, and that's why I love. By the way, that's why I love Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because it takes you forever to get a belt, like forever, man. It's not like
one of those
it's not like
turnaround.
No, it's not like, hey, your due is up. We're gonna have we're testing next month. You know, for your, I've only been here 4 weeks. No, don't worry, man. You're gonna, just pay your fee, pay your, So, anyways, that's why it's taking them forever. But the reason, going back to Mike on that one, and I know, kind of going all over the place, but it all stems from when you were telling me, about boxing and getting hit and boxing with a pro. It's just different levels, bro. It's different levels, and like when your first day did you do MMA? Did you do a groundwork? What did you do?
So I've kind of had an interesting life in regards to mixed martial arts. So when I was younger, like 19, 20, 21 years old, I had 2 different friends that one trained stand-up and then one trained jiu-jitsu, actually at Team Quest back in Portland.
Okay.
With like Randy Couture and that guy. And those guys.
I remember those guys.
Yeah. So
Team Quest.
Yeah. So they did that.
Dan Henderson was part of that crew.
Yeah.
Dan Henderson was Team Quest, and they call him Big Daddy Stevenson. Was part of that crew. See, I go way back, bro.
So what we did is they lived together. Yeah, come on in. So what we did, Buzz is very excited to be here. Right so what we did was we would just, like, they lived together at the time, so I would go over there, we would move the coffee table, and they would just show me shit. Okay. And he's like, I'm going to show you how to do this. And all of a sudden, I'd be getting choked out. And I'm like, well, fucking slow it down.
Yeah.
And then for years, I just watched it and followed it. And then now recently, within the past few years, it's strictly stand-up. Like, no groundwork. It's just kickboxing.
Oh, you don't do any groundwork anymore?
No, not recently. Just because the gym I go to is mostly boxing, kickboxing, stand-up kind of stuff. And like you were saying, it doesn't matter.
I didn't know you did stand-up.
I do.
You should come out to the comic strip and do some stand-up.
And so, if you watch me fight, you'd be laughing your ass off. But there was, you're talking about, it doesn't matter how far you think you've advanced with some of this stuff. Like, there was one time, this was about a year ago, and I was, my trainer had the mitts on, and we're going back and forth, and he's showing me combinations, and he's like, and you need to make sure, he's like, when you're done here, get out of the way. Like, we're talking about learning defense. He goes, get your head out of the way. And so I wasn't doing it. He goes, every time your head doesn't move, he goes, I'm going to pop you. And he's not even it's like just maybe 10% effort. He's just doing it to be like,
that's so annoying though, man.
And he's like, fuck, and I'm like, fuck, it sucks. And I'm like, dude, get the, and that's where it's like, no matter how fast I think I am, how strong I think I am, no matter how good, it's like not even close to any of these guys that have been doing it for years and years and years. And years
no, there's a difference between a pro and a novice, man. But I got to give the people here some props on El Paso. You know, I know you have listeners there, but I'm good friends with Hayashi and with Hayashi's martial arts here. And every time I'm here, I go work out for a little bit with him. My son, I have a son. Both my sons fight. They play college baseball,
Mhm.
but their side thing is doing.
I think we had footage of one of your kids. We had that on the morning show's page, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't you have your kids fighting like when in
They were little.
like underground children
Yeah,
fighting,
yeah.
like almost like some kind of weird
I did.
cockfighting for human
Well, it was
children?
that dad.
Yeah, I did some illegal stuff, man. But it was legal. I'll tell you why it was. It was illegal.
Was it like in an abandoned garage,
No.
like a Van Damme movie or
No,
something?
this is why it was legal. I'll tell you why. Because it was the tournaments were in Indian land. You know what I mean? They can get away with it, bro. They can get away with doing stuff that you can't do.
I just like Buzz's reaction to it. It's like,
Oh,
I can say.
yeah, they could also smoke and drink while they were there too. They were 8.
Yeah.
Indian land.
But yeah, man. You know, want to hear what a small world this is or coincidence? Mike Beltran called me and he goes, "Dude, I'm refereeing your boy's fight."
No shit.
Yeah, because you know, like when you're an amateur MMA guy, you got to fight with shin guards.
Yeah,
that's the only difference,
Mhm.
you know. But yeah, he, you know, the weirdest thing, because I'm telling you, like here I have this guy, a buddy that I started jiu-jitsu with years ago, and then now he's got my kid. You know,
he's refereeing
he's refereeing kid. And by the way, I was proud of my kid. He only trained for like a month for this fight because he had been in college baseball. I had just been over with and my son took the fight. He goes, "I'll take the fight."
Yeah.
So, but you can tell how rusty my son is on this fight because he picks up my boy twice and slams him. You know, and I mean, when I was looking at the video, I go, oh. But he eventually beat the other kid.
Oh, there you go. No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he took a bat.
He tied the other guy up from picking him up. You know?
I was told we were going to talk about 90-Day Fiance before the 90 days.
Okay, well, we can transition to that now. Because I don't want to talk too much, because hopefully Willie will come in for like the MMA talk on Friday. I'm trying to get you to commit on camera, by the way.
No, I am. But no, man, you guys are family, bro.
So we'll talk about we're going to talk about the big UFC fight coming up on Saturday. You got the big Cormier-Stipe rematch going.
I love Cormier, bro. He's you know what Cormier reminds me of? He reminds me if was a Will Smith show. What was the
Fresh
other?
Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah, what was the black guy? His brother.
The black guy was the Fresh Prince.
No, I know.
Jeffrey the Butler, Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil?
No, man, it was his brother,
Yeah.
Carlton. He reminds me if Carlton was an MMA fighter.
I can kind of see that.
Because he's that nerdy,
funny.
you know.
Yeah.
I like Cormier, don't get me wrong, but he's so nerdy, man.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like you asked earlier on the show, like who am I rooting for? Like I'd like to see Stipe win, but I'm not going to completely hate it because Cormier is a really likable guy as well.
But he's likable, but he does he's a nerd, man. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't tell him that to his face. I mean, if he was sitting here, I'd be like, "Hey, man, it's awesome." But he comes across nerdy likable.
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely. All right. So now we'll transition to.
I got a quick transition before we transition. You might be interested in this.
Transitioning everywhere.
Yeah.
Transition
I last week my first Fast and or Furious movie. I'd never seen a Fast or Furious.
I haven't seen one
of those.
I've never. How was it?
I've seen, I think, the first two.
I didn't realize that they were superhero movies, which apparently they
I
are.
think this is the first one that is.
Well, Idris Elba is clearly like a super soldier, so he's Captain America. Like that's explicit. Is they did an operation on him.
He has special powers now.
Yeah,
Really?
But also, the two main characters also have some kind of superpowers. Because I'll give you an example. Whichever one The Rock is, at some point falls like 10 stories and crashes through a car. And instead of being killed on impact, he gets up and he's not even limping.
Well, he's The Rock.
Well, then the other one, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, who we've already established is basically Captain America, picks up a 300-pound canister and smashes him full force, and his bones aren't immediately shattered or turned into dust. In fact, he just shakes it off and gets back to fighting. So Hobbs and Shaw are either mutants, they have super healing powers like Deadpool, or maybe they have metal on their skeletons. It's the only way these movies make any goddamn sense.
Buzz was not a fan, by the way, in case you can't think of that.
Well, I would have been more likely to see him earlier if somebody had said, "Hey, it's like the MC. It's like a different MCU."
It's MCU with cars.
Oh, there's another one. So Jason Statham has a sister in this one, and it has flashbacks where they're both kids, and they're around the same age. Well, in the contemporaneously, she's clearly 20 years younger than him. So either she
ages
ages slower, like Thor, slower? Like an Asgardian, or Jason Statham ages really fast. The only superhero I could think of that has that power would be Robin Williams and Jack. And I don't really see how that's a superpower.
That's a highly underrated
But like I say, a lot of things only make sense is all the characters are superheroes.
But that's an even better transition because you're talking about Idris Elba. That's a big MMA guy. There's Idris Elba. Oh. There's a great documentary that they did on him where he wanted to get into a professional mixed martial arts, or might have just been kickboxing fight. And so I think it's a 3-part documentary. You can find the whole thing up on YouTube, and it follows his journey of becoming a mixed martial artist. Like he has, like you're saying, like the difference between pro and amateur is really just amateur. You're wearing shin guards. And so like he has an amateur fight, and then it gets him into an actual professional fight, which he wins. But when you watch it, like he wins by a body blow, which is a little bit odd. Like, I mean, he kicks the guy. It might have been a tough enough liver shot that it would have knocked the guy down.
Oh, that's a button. That's the going back to Ruben, man. He says that the Mexican boxers literally practice the hook, like
to get that liver.
Yeah, man. Because remember when Oscar went down with Mayweather? I think Mayweather or Pacquiao. Somebody just hit him with a shot. I forgot. It was Mayweather or Pacquiao, but just hit him, just touched him, and he just
hit that liver. It'll drop it like when you hit him right here, like how Joe Rogan always says on the button. When you're talking, on the button, it's the same thing. Like you hit somebody on the liver, like it'll drop you like that.
Hey, speaking of, you brought up Joe Rogan real quick. I got to ask you this, man. Did you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I did.
Is it? You didn't see that movie,
bro?
Okay.
I've been wanting to. I don't know.
My wife doesn't want to see it.
I don't know anybody who's seen it. I want to talk about it, but I don't have any.
Bro, I love it. Okay. Well, here's I got to share this. And give me your input on this. Is Joe Rogan is defending. Or citing.
I'll answer your question before you even ask it. In a boxing match, Ali absolutely would have beaten up Bruce Lee.
No. Here it is. Here it is. There's a lot of purist martial artists that think that the scene with Bruce Lee is disrespectful. When Brad Pitt kicks Bruce Lee's ass.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Is that Bruce Lee comes off as arrogant, and then it's also like it makes Bruce Lee not.
Also, Bruce Lee in his prime kind of gets his ass kicked by a random out-of-work stuntman who's middle-aged. I mean, everything about it is kind of disrespectful.
Right?
That's what. And Joe Rogan saying that it's not right that they made him look like. And this is my take.
They made him look like a chump.
No, it's funny. It's a funny scene, man. Because the way I look at it, and any martial artist that gets upset about that is not a progressive thinker. Because if you look at Bruce Lee, was always philosophical, right?
Yeah.
A young guy, whether in his early 30s, he died, and he was already very deep about life. And the older we get as human beings, the wiser we get. Mm-hmm. The wiser we get, the more we're able to laugh at ourselves. You know, and I think Bruce Lee.
I think that's where he actually ages in the opposite direction.
Really?
I don't think he's getting any wiser. He doesn't laugh at himself.
Nah, you do. This guy takes his shirt off, man.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I seen that, bro.
The thing is, Bruce Lee isn't around to say,
"But I
wasn't that big a dick."
No, but it's not. No, it's not. It's not a historical moment. You know, it's Tarantino.
It was artistic freedoms, kind of.
It's Tarantino.
Yeah, well, they also got Steve McQueen as a character in the movie, but they don't have him act like a douchebag.
No, but it wasn't. It was comical, man. It was.
So your defense is kind of that don't take it so seriously.
And the whole purpose was to establish that Brad Pitt's character is a badass.
Yeah.
You could have established that by having him beat somebody else.
I think what Willie's saying is that you need to look at more of the comedic aspect.
Yeah, it's dark. It's a dark comedy. It's a dark, and you right from the get-go is a dark comedy. And I think if Bruce Lee would have been alive, he would have been older, wiser, and able to laugh at himself. And I really believe he would have found it humorous not to take himself so serious, you know. And it's what Jackie Chan did with his career, was going, okay, you know, Bruce Lee would block, and then he would, wow, right? And then what I like about Jackie, and he got older, he would block, and he'd be like, oh.
Like it hurt.
Yeah. And so, anyways, man, I just want, you didn't see the movie.
But here, thumbs up? Like it?
I loved it,
I
man. Love that movie. I'm gonna go see it again.
I want to see it again.
Yeah, let's go see it again.
And it's long too. It's like over 2.5 hours.
Mandate live. That happened right here. All right, so Buzz is getting upset. We'll start talking 90 Day Fiance here.
So I think they want to leave. Like they don't want to stick around for
but dude, Willie, I'm telling you, man. Like,
I don't know nothing about this show.
But it's nuts because they pick some of the strangest shit. Now, one of the things that happened was I mentioned to you the one clip that I saw back when I was on vacation a few years ago. Then I never watched it. Then all of a sudden, we stumbled back into it. The wife and I did, and Buzz warned me. He's like, "Hey, there's this one couple. It's this chick with a lot of plastic surgery and this dude from like Denmark,
Darcy and Sven or whatever. What's the dude's name?
Oh, fuck, no.
Darcy and Eric?
No,
Heinrich.
No. But anyway, so he warns me.
Darcy and
Jesse. Darcy and Jesse.
Right,
So anyway, so he warns me about them. He's like, it's a fucking train wreck. Like, it is dysfunction at the height of dysfunction.
The most toxic relationship
I feel like I'm between my wife and her best friend right now. I'm lost. I'm like,
well, I mean, look at the glasses. Trapped. Yeah, we designed it this way specifically so that he got bookended in here, and Willie can't get out. He's gonna have to climb over the fucking table to get out of here.
But you're the lucky Pierre of this conversation.
But I got to tell you, man. Women from abroad, they'll. Man, I mean, I think you get online right now and find a woman that'll marry you just for citizenship like that.
But that's right? The one that's one of the
premise.
more
Is that the premise of the show?
Kind of. One of the more interesting storylines now is like the one guy's never met this chick,
and he sent her like $40,000 over the course of several years.
Yeah,
like he sent her money, and he seems like maybe a little.
It's probably a black guy, a Norwegian, was a Nigerian black guy. And it wasn't even her, no?
It could have been anybody. He doesn't know. Well, I mean, somebody talks on the phone. This is Caesar and Maria, by the way.
There's videos, and like he does talk to her on the phone, and it sounds like a woman, so you'd imagine yes, it's a woman. But it's so difficult to watch because when you watch it, you don't think the guy's quite all there. Like he might be a little bit slow.
He's like Forrest Gump. Your boy's right about here, Mrs. Gump.
Yeah.
He's like that. And he's clearly being catfished.
Okay.
Because it got to the point where she's like, "Don't come here." He's like, "I need to come over there." He's like, "We tried a couple different times to meet up, but she's canceled every time." And he's
but he sent the money, and then she missed the plane or something happened. He never says, and she sent the money back. So I think it's like
everything.
She just keeps the money.
It just sounds like she's working.
He wants to go over to Ukraine. And she says, no, let's go to Mexico because it's really cold here.
Yeah.
She doesn't say, well, let's wait a couple months when it's warmer. She says, let's go to Mexico. So he says, I don't have enough money. And she says, well, maybe you don't really want to meet me then. So she turns it around on him. So he's like, all right, I'll go in early. I'll work every shift I can get. I'll work weekends. So I guess the guy raises the money.
No, and remember, he borrows it from a coworker.
Oh, right.
Like he borrows like $1,000 from a coworker.
He sends her the money for her plane ticket, and he's like, finally, I'm going to get to meet the love of my life. He talks to her, and she says, are you not watching the news? War has broken out in Ukraine.
And she's like, I can't leave.
I can't leave.
And he's like, well, just book your ticket.
And then she goes, you only care about yourself.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And so it's to the point where he's like, hey, and he's talked to her on speakerphone, and he's like, could you just please book the ticket tonight? And she goes, I will try my best. And then when he gets off the phone, he's got this big smile. He goes, well, now that I got confirmation that she's going to book her ticket tonight. I'm like, that's not confirmation, you fucking weirdo. Yeah. Like, that's legitimately, like, that's not what she said.
But there's a theory that Brandon pointed out that, right, I guess he's got an actor page on a website for actors.
So is this all bullshit?
Maybe so like the whole thing is a setup, but I don't know whether it's on TLC, right?
TLC.
I don't know if TLC.
Yeah, it's on the Learning Channel, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So that's the dude. Okay, so that's Caesar. And he's literally crying. So if it is an actor, like,
he's great.
Like he's a pretty damn good actor.
He should really get some recognition.
But what they found was they have this page. It's a website called Explore Talent, and they found this where a guy by the name of Caesar Mack, who also lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he says, "But I've been thinking about this, Buzz. he could just be a guy who legitimately thinks that he's like that, and because as far as I know, to be on this Explore Talent thing, you don't need to actually be an actor. It's just a website that you can go to. It's like Facebook.
Maybe he's an actor who's never acted.
Yeah, like he maybe thinks that
But then again, if you're casting, man, you're gonna get people who never got a role. You're gonna get people that aren't easy to find.
Well, I don't know how seriously you're pursuing your dreams of being a professional actor if you live in Raleigh, North Carolina.
This is
true.
I'm
sure they have.
And working as a nail tech. But then there's a few other couples here. One of them, there's a girl. She's 19 years old, former gymnast, recently converted to Islam, and she's now going to move to Syria to be with her fiance, who she's never fucking met before.
And then she's got to get, and then they're gonna get what is it? 6 months? What's it called? His name is
90 days.
But this is before the 90 days, right?
Yeah. So the point of the 90-day thing, the way that the K-1 visa works, is that let's say you meet a girl who lives in a different country.
Okay.
You bring her over here on this visa, and then you have 90 days to get married.
I have become an expert on the K-1 visa process
because he's thinking about doing it.
No, I'm not.
See how defensive he got? He's totally thinking about doing it.
Man.
Dude, if you ended up on 90 Day Fiance, it'd be the best. We could be on that show.
Why don't you do it, man?
Go to AnastasiaDate.com. That's where that dude met this chick.
That's in you, man. It's in you to do this.
I'd rather go to anesthesia.com, date.com. That's the Bill Cosby dating website, anesthesiadate.com. Anastasia?
Send roofied drinks.
Hey, why don't you get hooked up with the show?
Because it's sad, and those people are only on there to be made fun of.
So what?
There's another girl on there, and she's the one who's a private investigator.
Oh, that's her right here.
And her job is putting GPSs and busting cheating husbands.
Yeah.
Well, she's involved in some kind of thing where it's a guy and she's never met, and she's obvious.
She's 46. He's 28.
Oh, that's one of the things. Almost every time in the relationship, there's an American and somebody from a foreign country, and whether it's female or male, the American is always. I'm generalizing here, but
much older
and less attractive. So they're with a younger, hotter person. So I don't even really feel bad when they get catfished,
Well,
it's kind of you're trying to buy.
So one of the things that happened with this chick is that she sends a lot of pictures to this guy with filters, and it makes it look like it's not even her. It takes 20 years off. Looks like, and she even when they go to video chat, she bought the ring light. So that it's super bright and it brightens everything's up and it makes her look.
She's got her fox ears and a puppy dog tongue.
Yeah. So with let's say you're online dating and the person is sending you pictures that clearly it's they're doing something that makes them look like her. You finally meet this person in real life. How are you going to react to that?
Well, she's kind of catfishing him too.
Well, yeah.
But then Russian chicks, bro, are gorgeous from the ages of 19 to 30.
Then what happens?
And then they start looking like their dads. That's serious, bro. That's Russian, and I've met a lot of Russian chicks. And
so date them till they're 30 until they start looking like Sven and
no, man.
Igor?
No, they start changing. They start getting bigger heads and their faces come out.
They start wearing that scarf around their head.
Wearing a scarf. Yeah. Jesus. But
I don't know if that's true.
No.
Hold on.
I heard it. There was a comedian. I don't think this is politically correct anymore, but 20 years ago, there's a comedian who did a thing about. You notice you never see any skinny older Mexican.
Oh, I heard. This is an old joke.
That is an old joke.
It's an old joke because they eat all the skinny ones.
Right, the old Mexican.
The old Mexican. You heard that one? That's an old joke, bro.
So that's what the Ukrainian chick looks like. That's Maria.
Whether she's real or not, that's what she's supposed to look like.
And there's a scene where it's showing some of the videos that she sends him, and she's like, "Hi, my husband."
Let's reenact it. You be the interviewer off camera, and I'll be Caesar. Okay.
Okay.
She calls me all kinds. She has all kinds of nicknames for me, like Big Daddy and my husband. She calls me baby.
Have you ever wondered if she's sending these videos to other people because she doesn't actually say your name in the videos? And you can just see just the energy sucked out of this guy. It's not even clicking in his brain that might be happening.
Right.
The producer brings it up, and it's like, oh, shit. It's like watching a balloon.
There might be a reason she calls you by pet names because she's just sending those videos.
It to like hundreds of guys getting multiple, hundreds of dollars from, other guys.
I got to get more into the season because I'm a few weeks behind, but at some point, isn't TLC liable for not telling a mentally handicapped man that he's being catfished?
I think there's waivers and stuff signed, but like the fact that they're willing to bring that up to him and it hit him like that. Like, I really hope it's like, I'm kind of torn right now because I hope that he's not an actor because then it makes the story true, but I also kind of hope he is because I feel really bad for this dude because he works like 7 days a week. He rides his bike to and from work to save money. He sends her like $800 a month. And the whole time you're watching it, the street, like, dude, like this guy is like, just he's a sucker.
I saw a conspiracy that it's all that he's a plant to advertise. He mentions where he met this woman, AnastasiaDate.com, and somebody said, well, maybe they just put him on there to, because I bet a lot of people went to check out that website. We talked
about this yesterday,
but
it doesn't make the website look so good.
It makes the website look terrible, like a total scam. So it doesn't make any sense.
Catfishing him for money from over in the Ukraine.
But if you find out this is all bullshit, man, we stop watching the show. They find out he's an actor.
Man. I probably
really? Oh, you're hooked on this show, bro.
Yeah,
it's like I told you they don't have the Ultimate Fighter anymore. I gotta watch something.
You know what it reminds me of? You guys are hooked on like wrestling.
Yeah, it's like wrestling.
It's like wrestling.
It's like I know it's real to me.
Like I know it's all fake, but
it's dating. It's not real dating. It's dating entertainment.
That's true. All right, well, that'll wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. Big thank you to Willie for stepping in today.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Buzz as well. Willie will be in on Friday, 10:30. We're going to do an MMA talk. We're going to be talking about the big Stipe Cormier fight coming up. You've got Nate Diaz taking on Anthony Pettis. It's going to be a great fight.
By the way, Pettis' real last name is Perez. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, but his grandfather, they changed it when they were.
What's the difference between Pettis and
it's to sound.
He spells it P-E-T-I-S.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were just pronouncing it different.
No, his grandfather changed it because they were trying to become Americanized.
Oh, no shit.
And that whole thing. Yeah. So, anyways, man,
give me a
little tidbit, bro.
Yeah, that's like the only Mexicans I knew growing up, and I didn't know they were Mexicans. The Aguirre brothers.
Oh yeah,
the Aguirres.
I moved to El Paso. It was like 15 years later. I'm like,
Aguirre.
They're Aguirres.
Well, do you pronounce it Aguilar or Aguilar?
Well, I pronounce most things with an American dialect.
Oh, this is my friend who's Filipino, so
Aguilar.
It's Aguilar.
Aguilar.
Well, if you want Siri,
there's where you can get some women in the Philippines too, just like in Russia.
If you want, so my attorney's his last name is Aguilar, but Siri doesn't recognize that. You have to say, call Luis Aguilar.
Oh yeah, he's done that. He'll say it the way you're supposed to pronounce it. And nothing. And then he says it the way that it's spelt, like phonetically, and then it will actually.
Siri's kind of a Becky.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right. Well, big thanks to Willie.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for Buzz for coming in. And be tuning in tomorrow, bright and 5 a.m. But Willie will be back in on the show tomorrow. He ain't going to be there at 5, I guarantee you. His ass ain't getting up at 4.
No.
All right. No. So, all right. Have yourselves a fantastic Wednesday. We'll see you guys next week, 10:30 Mountain Time on the AfterBuzz.